Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. The street life used to be on. Straight up hustling till the break of dawn. Taught me how to do wrong right. Everything is tight.
So, just as we were getting ready to record, called Teebs on the phone, and I'm like, yeah, so I may be in on Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. He just responded with such disappointment. He still has nothing to say right now.
Listen, I thought we were on the same team now. You took a screenwriting class. I thought we were good. I thought we were going to be film bros along with
No.
being actual bros.
No, listen,
Damn it.
I said the same thing to you about Mission Impossible that I did about Fast and the Furious. If there's another Fast and the Furious movie, I have to see how the franchise lands this plane. Quite literally, in fact, because we may be landing planes in Fast 12, I think it is.
They've gone to space. The only thing left is time travel. I'm not watching Fast and Furious Time Travel Edition.
Listen, you're a heavy proponent of time paradoxes. Why would you not be in on this?
I'm just no.
Okay,
just
all right.
no.
All right, let's move
You know
away.
what? Instead of the Fast and Furious, I'd rather watch Mario Kart, the motion picture.
Okay, it's funny that you lead me into that segue, because speaking of companies and franchises that we just like ride or die for, well, maybe you for Nintendo more than me for Fast and the Furious or anything else, but the details of the Nintendo Switch 2 dropped last week on the Nintendo whatever they do for like announcing stuff. I forget what it's called. Y'all know the name, but it's been in the news. We haven't been able to discuss it because, Teebs, I take great pride in the fact that our podcast is not some knee-jerk reactionary podcast. We dig into the nooks.
It's not?
It's not. No, it's not. It's not.
No?
It's not.
Okay.
Because if that were the case, we would have recorded last Thursday, when this news actually broke. But we sat down, we looked at all the nooks and crannies, got all the nuance, and we're ready to have this discussion about the Nintendo Switch 2.
Sure.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, the Nintendo Switch 2 was announced last week, and it will be coming out on June 5th. In the United States and all across the world. The price point is something that was of heavy contention on the interwebs, as you would imagine, because Teebs, the base price for the system, and this is without the game, by the way, is $449.99. It's $450 plus taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. Teebs is like, okay, all right, it's fine.
Yeah, that seems fine. That seems in line with. Well, let's just. You go, Vamp. I'm going to look at what launch prices of the last couple consoles have been.
So hold off on that. You vamp and do your research, but I will let you know that you're not just getting like the system and like some nonsense. Like, you're getting the system, you're getting a couple of Joy-Cons, you're not getting a dock station because that costs an extra $110. But I believe
no. The dock comes for free. You get a dock for free.
You get a dock for free. I'm sorry. The 4K TV dock is $110, I think is what you told me. What you were referencing.
Maybe that might not be accurate. Listen.
If not, most of the accessories cost extra. Like the Switch 2 camera is like $70. There is a dock that you have to buy that's $110. I believe that's the 4K dock. And I gotta say, it's not like I'm not against $450, right? Is it a lot? Yes, we'll dig into it with more nuance again shortly. But the $500 bundle includes Mario Kart World, which is the new Mario Kart game.
Right.
And $500, I think, is fair. And Teebs will explain why after he has gotten his research done, because price points, they're kind of the same.
So I'm looking at this dock set.
Okay.
Oh, it's a sec. If you just want to buy another dock, so let's say you're too lazy to move the actual dock from the living room to the game room,
Okay.
and you want a second one, an additional dock will run you $109.
Okay, but a dock is included with the 450 or the $500.
That is correct.
All right, that's fine. That is completely fine. And then Mario Kart World runs $50 if you get the bundle. It's $80 by itself, and that's the digital version. Not even talking about physical media. I believe the digital version is $80. And there were a lot of people that were knee-jerkingly upset about the price point. And I gotta say, we talked about this a little bit in the earlier afternoon. And after dissecting it, like, Teebs and I, we're okay with this. And this is not to say that the Teebs and KidPhoenix podcast supports, blatant capitalism and taking advantage of supply and demand. We do not do that, but we do
We do not.
Go ahead.
But okay, so the PS5 at launch cost $400 for the disc system. Sorry, $400 for the
digital version.
Digital only.
You're in the 6 range, closing in on 3/4 of a stack.
I went to look up how much the Xbox Series was at launch, and there's just too many of them, so I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Just fucking figure out your console nomenclature, Microsoft.
All right. So
what are we doing?
The Xbox of this generation, the Xbox X and Series S. So the X is the full scale, you get everything, all the newest technology that Microsoft had to offer at the time. That was $400. The Series S, which was, hey, you want a game, you want to play Xbox next generation titles, here you go, $300. There you go.
Right.
All right, personally, Teebs, how do you feel about the price point? I'll give my opinion after you give yours.
All right, so here's the thing about the Switch that you have to remember.
As Teebs takes a swig.
So the thing about the Switch that you have to remember is it is a portable. Like, you don't need anything else. You can just grab that console and a game and get to work.
Correct.
For PlayStation 5, you would have to pay an additional, let's say, like $200 for a television. Now, you probably already have one in your house. That's fine. But still, like, you got to remember, portability of the thing is part of the price. So I think it's fair. I think $450, $500 is fair. It's in line with what we like. If there was a PlayStation 6, you got to imagine how much would the PlayStation 6 cost, and that thing would be like $700 at launch, right? So
at minimum $700.
And, for the lowest end, that's about what you're going to pay for the lowest end gaming PC also.
This is the other thing that I'll say about the Nintendo Switch. Like, you know what it is going in. And, like, I understand. Believe me, I understand that times are tough. The stock market is tumbling. The economy is like 1 or 2 steps from being in the shitter, depending on where your positioning is. I get it. But here's how I view it, right? Games are expensive to produce now. Consoles are expensive to produce now. Teebs and I, fortunate to have gone through several generations of gaming.
Yeah.
And there was a shift when the Sony PlayStation came out, right? Everybody remembers when the PlayStation came out, it was a CD-based system, and CDs were crazy cheap to get and purchase. I remember you could go to like a record store and get like a Tower of 100 for like $40. So when we got the PlayStation, we got used to, okay, CDs are cheap, they're easy to manufacture, they're easy to put data on. We can use CDs, and we have this price point, $50 bare, that's it. We are seeing now, as technology improves, as companies start to do more and more things, you're starting to see media start to get more expensive. We've gone from CDs to maybe Blu-rays. Just the digital downloads of some of these games are astronomical when you're looking at like 200, 300 gigs of data sometimes. And companies are doing a lot. They're putting a lot into their product. And I understand that, and I can appreciate that. So I'm willing to pay the premium for what they're putting out. They're not putting out trash. And as Teebs said before, earlier in the day, Nintendo is one of those rare companies where, like,
Listen,
okay,
here's the
I'm
thing.
paying $80 for a game. I know when I pay $80 for, we know when we pay $80 for a game made for and released by Nintendo, that son of a bitch is going to be complete.
It'll be done. It's
Done.
done. It'll be done. No day one patches, no nonsense.
Nothing.
You sit down, you boot it up, you see the Nintendo logo, you play your game. Period.
Period.
That's why the Big N is undefeated.
Undefeated. So, Teebs, I did a little research. Can I tell you, this is not the first time that Nintendo has had slightly more expensive games than your average console?
Really?
That is correct.
Can I guess which era this happened in?
Take a guess.
Is it the N64 era?
It even predates that.
It predates the N64.
It is the SNES era. So the SNES era, so the system when it came out, I believe was 150, something like that, right?
Can't remember, yeah.
I've seen like circulars, like Toys R Us circulars, like online, doing my research. I've seen circulars where the Super Nintendo was like $150, but then some of the games, like for example, Street Fighter Alpha 2, when that came out, I saw an ad for it.
Okay.
And they wanted $70 for that.
I understand. Okay. So yes, because the games with battery chips in them and big RAM carts cost more. Like you were paying more for Final Fantasy VI, you were paying more for Street Fighter Super Turbo, you were paying more for like
most fighting games
because you needed the extra RAM in a fighting game. So yes, that does make sense.
And we're not even getting into the fact that like Nintendo shelled out or had to shell out more money for licensing of certain titles like Street Fighter, like Mortal Kombat.
That's not how that worked.
I thought that was a portion of it at least.
No, they didn't have to pay for licensing. The companies actually pay Nintendo to be on their console. So they are also, Capcom and Midway probably passing that cost on to the consumer. I'm sure all the publishers did, but yeah, I don't think that specifically. No, Nintendo did not have to pay Capcom or Midway to be on the NES.
And you know that continued even on the N64. You know, like Killer Instinct. I saw like there was a version that cost $90 for the N64.
Giant RAM carts. I mean, fighting games require a lot of RAM, and on a cart there are RAM restrictions, so they basically have to build a custom cart to facilitate to get the extra RAM on there. So that's why they cost more.
So in your eyes, your educated, intelligent opinion as a
Wait a second.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm just not used to hearing such kind words from you. Like,
all right.
Hold on, let me drink this in.
Okay.
Let me just bask in this for a second. Okay.
In your professional gaming opinion, why do you think there has been such outrage over the price point of the Switch 2 and its games?
I don't understand the outward. Like, yes, I understand that the Nintendo is aimed at a more family friendly audience and that kids and that things like that. So, like, you're looking at spending $500 for something for your kid. It's a bit steep.
Yeah.
I get that. Also, but Nintendo fanboys and Nintendo loyalists, they're going to be there at launch no matter what the console costs.
And that's the thing that I kind of like didn't even bat an eye and kind of laughed about. Like some of these same influencers that were screaming from the rooftops about PlayStation 5 being $500 still went out and bought the system. People that are up in arms about the Nintendo Switch and how expensive it is, I guarantee you they're still probably buying the system.
Yeah, and I'll probably wind up, listen, I will buy whatever console you put Metroid Prime 4 on. So,
Right.
if you put it on a Virtual Boy, I'll be buying a Virtual Boy. I don't care. I just need that game in my life.
You will not be buying a
I
Virtual
need
Boy.
that game in my life. But also, I didn't buy a Switch this generation, and I'd like the opportunity to catch up on a bunch of the Switch games that I missed.
So that's an interesting question. Why did you not buy the Switch 1?
Because I had joined the Master Race,
Well, yeah.
and I didn't really see the need for it. But I am kind of missing my Nintendo homies and my
Yeah.
gaming roots. So
Yeah.
I was thinking, and also having all my video games on my PC turned out to be a real productivity killer. So I might be looking to get back into console land.
So here's another question that I have for you. I'm kind of against this, but I want to get your take on it. There are certain games that are being reproduced as quote unquote Switch 2 editions, basically remastered. So, like the Legend of Zelda games that came out on the original Switch, they're going to be getting the like Switch 2 facelift, but they're also going to be at that $80 price point. I mean, I don't know if I have like a hard decision. This sucks. It shouldn't be done, or like, all right, that kind of makes sense. I'm kind of like, I mean, every system has done it. We've seen Sony do the same thing with The Last of Us and like all of their remastered stuff. So I think it's part and parcel with the gaming console generations now.
Now, okay, I might be proceeding from a large assumption here, but
Okay.
I assume that the Switch 2 would be backwards compatible and you'd be able to play Switch games. Is that not true?
The Switch 2 is not only backwards compatible with Switch games, but you have the entire NES library that's available through their Nintendo store.
Right.
You have access to play Super Nintendo games,
Right.
N64, and now on the Switch 2 for the first time, GameCube games will be available.
Okay, so that's fun. Like you could play GameCube games on the Wii, and I do often. So why wouldn't I? So like, yeah, you can. So basically, you can either pay for the remastered version, or you can just go somewhere, find a used version of those games for
I
the
think
original Switch, and just boot them up there. Like it's
I
not like
think so. I think it's more like I see what you mean. Like you can just get like the straight up Switch
right.
original cartridge. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
fine. But let's dig into this whole like games are like $80 for the Switch.
Okay.
And I want to go back to something I said about like Sony, right? And how they kind of cornered the market on affordable media with their gaming console. Again, they had CDs, crazy cheap to make. So everybody and Sony had to do that, right? They're the new kid on the block. They got to do
Right,
something.
but hold on just a second. Even though CDs were cheaper to produce than carts, the games were the same price.
Games at the
PlayStation
same
games and
price,
N64 games were the same price.
with the exception of certain games that were like 2 or 3 CDs long.
Right, but still, like a CD does not cost as much to produce as a cartridge does.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And they were charging exactly the same. Like N64 games were a little more expensive. Maybe a PlayStation game would have been $49 An N64 game would have been $50.
And, everybody kind of had to respond a little bit. Even Nintendo, when the GameCube came out, I don't think that the GameCube was $100 at launch, but like
No.
it eventually got there.
GameCube was like $200 or $250 at launch.
But then it did at one point get to that $100 for the system, and then the games were still like, $40-$50, fine, whatever. But again, I think it's like we've been the last couple of generations from the Sony PlayStation first, like on. We have been, for lack of a better term, spoiled by that $50-$60 price point.
Yes.
And gamers didn't exactly take into account improving technology, improving systems, improving consoles. So as the consoles get better, they have to get more expensive. And as the games get better, they have to get more expensive. I think we're just in that era now where it's just like, listen, 70s probably the new 50.
I mean, there's just inflation. And like, I think for inflation, video games are right where they need to be at. Like,
I think so too.
I understand that there's not a cost involved with producing physical media anymore in most cases, but the cost is, but the level, like we're beyond the level of where like a 5 or 6 man team is going to be putting a game together. We're talking about 25, 30 man teams or person 25, 30 person teams.
Yes.
Putting a game together. So basically, instead of production costs, you're just paying for those extra 15 dudes. Like, and that doesn't bother. Like I don't.
And we support artists on this podcast.
We do. Like, I don't know, just a gamer. Like, I'm sorry, but gamers just want to bitch about everything. Anytime anything changes, they're like, "Oh my god!" No. Just like, Jesus, they're with the pitchforks. They're out with the torches and the pitchfork. Just calm down. Just Jesus Christ.
I will say one of our favorites.
Hold on, just sorry, one more point.
Go ahead.
Like, there's so many games that are like free that you don't like. You play Rivals for free right now on any console and have a good time.
Free.
Absolutely. Like, bro, why are you like? What are you like? I don't understand why all the complaining.
It's because they're complaining because the new Mario Kart game is $80, and I'm like, okay, whatever, but you're still gonna buy it, aren't you?
You're still gonna.
Teebs, all the Nintendo fanboys that you just referenced, like, if they're like, it's coming, it's inevitably coming with a Nintendo system. If there's a Smash Brothers game for Nintendo Switch 2 and it costs $110, these people are still shelling out $110.
I don't know about that.
Listen, y'all need to stop kidding yourself.
110 is a little steep.
But there are people that will pay $110 for it, like, just because it's Smash Brothers.
If Smash Brothers came out and was $90, people would grit their teeth, but they pay it.
Yeah. Like, if Grand Theft Auto, like, this is a totally different system because the game would never come out on Nintendo based console.
Let's all be ready here. Grand Theft Auto 6 is set to come out this year, and that game will be $99.99.
100%.
It will 100% be $100.
Put that Benjamin aside right now.
You might as well just put that money aside right now, and that whole rest of the industry is waiting to see if people are going to bite at that price point. And if y'all do, which y'all will, it's a $100 game.
$100 is the standard.
Witcher 4 is going to be $100. The next Skyrim, whenever that comes out, that's going to be $100. The next Red Dead is going to be $100. Like,
large, what is it, AAA titles, right? Is that what they're called?
AAA, like the next Elden Ring 2, that's going to be $100.
$100.
Assassin's Creed 11, 12, 13, that's going to be $100. Nobody's going to pay it, but it's going to be $100.
Sports games are going to be $100.
No, see, that's where I think we need to draw the line.
Okay, we've discussed this.
I think that paying that kind of money for an incremental update without a change to the engine is ridiculous.
I agree.
If the sports game companies want to adopt a model that's like that's kind of like the operating system model, where it's like, okay, so you got this version of the game, this engine. You've got Madden 26, which is a whole new engine. You buy that, that's $100. And then the subsequent updates, Madden 27, 28, 29, 30, until they do the next engine update. Those are all like $20. Like, that's all that needs to be.
I would agree, because like, how much can you do with the engine year to year, right?
Right. Same thing with COD, same thing with Modern Warfare, same thing with a lot of games that just regurgitate like
What's
Raw,
funny? What's funny?
WWE every year.
Yeah. What's funny is that you mentioned Call of Duty. Like, Call of Duty even said they adopted the Fortnite model
Right.
for Warzone specifically, for their battle royale. They said, all right, here's the base game. Base game's free. Play it all you want, but you're either going to have to grind or you're going to have to pay to get what you really want.
Right. And that's fine. That is a fair proposition. I don't mind grinding. I don't mind paying, as long as I understand that I'm not paying to win and I'm not paying to get some kind of advantage. I'm just paying for cosmetics, or I'm paying for, weapon accoutrements, or to have gold weapons or something like that, but not anything that's going to be a substantial stat up.
No boost, the stat boost, yeah. So back to the Switch, like, we have been gamers since 1980 when we had the Atari XE in the house.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how far back we go. The Atari XE, folks. Jesus
Great
Christ.
system. Came with a gun.
Came with a gun and a keyboard. It was great.
They just don't make them like that anymore.
Nintendo is one of those rare companies where I think they're like ahead of the curve on certain things, right?
Well, Nintendo, I don't know that they're ahead of the curve. I just know that they've always firmly had one particular vision in mind, and that's like, they want to be a company that makes great games, and that's all. Like, while Sony's out here trying to become, a set-top box, and Xbox is trying to control your entire media life, like, Nintendo's just always been about making dope games, and so that's why they're still relevant and still making dope games in 2025 or whatever. Yeah.
Is there a case to be made about like this point? Like, Switch is coming out, other companies, Sony, Microsoft, all these other AAA companies, they're saying that Nintendo is pricing their games at $80. Is it kind of a fair thing to say that those other companies are like, all right, let's see how these people respond to Nintendo, a company that's been specifically nothing but video games since its creation, and just like, hey, if Nintendo can get away with it, we can probably get away with it.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, there's a difference between getting shoes from Walmart and getting shoes from Nike. You know what I'm saying? You go
Teebs is approaching. He's approaching the runway. The landing gear is down.
You go to Nike, or let's say like, okay, you get some sneaks at Nike, you're going to get a certain quality level, hopefully the shoe's not going to fall apart in like a year, and like,
Yes.
you'll be able to walk around in it and it'll look dope and it'll be quality materials, or as much quality as you can get from Vietnam or Indonesia or wherever the fuck they make Nikes at. But you go to Walmart, you get some, like, I don't know, some Fila's or some whatever they got over there. You have no,
Right, don't be firing shots at Fila, man. Come on.
no shots fired, but I'm saying that's what they got at Walmart. And like, those things, like, they don't last, they fall apart, they like don't work. Like, that's what I'm paying for. I want a Toyota. I want something that's going to be reliable, something that's going to be there.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be something that's just going to goddamn work. I'm going to get out, I'm going to sit in it, I'm going to turn the key, it's going to work. That's
And again, back to your point, when you buy something that's made by Nintendo, you're paying $80, but goddamn it, that son of a bitch is done.
Right. Now, with Sony, like, yeah, it might be prettier, it might be more slick, but I don't know if that shit's going to work, like, honestly.
We have talked about the Xbox 360's red circle of death that plagued many gamers when that system first came out.
Didn't even matter. Didn't even matter. People just like,
breaks.
okay, fine, whatever. This console's break. Buy a new console. That's how hard. That's how
Same
hard the
damn.
360 went. Jesus Christ.
with,
That's an argument for 360 being the greatest console of all time.
we'll get there.
It had
We'll
an
get there.
incredible hardware defect. People were just like, all right, just buy another one. That's what else you gonna do? Not like I can't play this. It's not like I can't. I've already got too much invested in this library of phenomenal titles.
Listen, and Nintendo, like, to their credit, like, they make good stuff. Like, you could get an NES on eBay right now. You're probably paying a couple $100 for it, but you could take it home, plug it in. It will work.
Listen, why is the Wii still like $150? 150. I need another one for something that would be running soon. They're 150. Like I gotta try to go to the Salvation Army and like dig one out in the box of fucking Barbie parts.
Okay. Nintendo makes its quality craftsmanship.
What I'm saying is solid work. I've had this Wii I got secondhand in 2007.
Yeah.
I could turn that son of a bitch on and run Super Mario Galaxy right now, no problem.
You're going to do that after this podcast is over.
As a matter of fact, I might just do that.
So where do we go now that all this news is like out? Like, does everybody need to just take a collective breath, a collective settle down, just like it's gonna be fine, y'all are gonna pay this money anyway, and then you're gonna be streaming everything on Switch 2 on your Twitch account?
You can stream to Twitch. That's the only thing. Nintendo, you gotta embrace the community, bro. You gotta embrace the community. But other than that, like, I see no, you're fine. Everything else is fine.
I guess this is the question then. Like, you're approaching 50, I'm approaching 45. I think we're both at that age where we have to, like, really, really consider, like, what we're spending more than, like, $300 on. Because we have other financial responsibilities like bills and insurance and shit like that. Is 500 kind of your breaking point for a console? Is that where you're just like, all right, that's too fucking much?
I think it is. I think more than that would be my breaking point. You always weighing the cost of a new console against a new graphics card and processor combination. And
right. And that's not to say that Nintendo, the company, is like they're aware of the backlash and the fallout. This is from Nintendo of America's Vice President of Product and Player Experience, Bill Trinan. He said this in New York to IGN. Quote, honestly, this is a game that is so big and so vast that you will find many little things to discover, and there's still some other secrets remaining that I think people end up buying and playing the game. They're going to find this to be probably the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had.
I believe it. I totally believe it.
And he also went on to say, well, again, and this is the value. Well, again, what I would say is that we just look at each individual game and we look at the content and the value of that game and we say, what is the right price for the value of this entertainment?
Right.
And I think if Mario Kart World is this like open world experience on top of the Grand Prix stuff, I think $80 is fair for what they're putting out.
Absolutely.
And again, it will be done. It will be finished.
Like, listen, you're getting a goddamn quality product that will not be buggy at launch, that's going to work and be a phenomenal gaming experience, because that's what they do. Like, that's what they do.
You're getting a Honda Civic.
You're getting a Toyota Camry. You're not getting a Honda Civic.
Are you saying Toyota Camry because you in fact own a Toyota Camry?
But the reason I own a Toyota Camry is because it's the Nintendo of cars. Okay.
Here's what I will say about the Switch 2. I am more tempted to buy Switch 2 at launch than I was at PlayStation 5 launch. You want to know why? Because I know what's coming at launch day, and I know what's coming down the line, and I know I'm fucking excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Metroid Prime 4, I'm in. Sign me up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever Mario game is on Switch 2, I'm in. Sign me up. Zelda, I know that's coming. Sign me up. Like, I'll get those four. Maybe I'll get Luigi's Mansion 3, 4.
But again, like for me, Luigi's Mansion 2 is new stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to catch up on all the Switch games that I missed. And really like there's been a lull in the AAA gaming, like aside from like Borderlands 4, like there's nothing that's really thrilling me this year, you know?
Right. And
that's only because I'm a Borderlands head.
Interesting follow-up. Like, is that the fault of what's the fault of? Like, I gotta say, it's like companies just want to like regurgitate Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty because they know it makes money, and then they're just like,
or you
fuck
know,
all that other stuff.
Or they're trying to be From Software, or they're trying to, I don't know. It's just not a lot of very interesting stuff on the horizon.
Listen.
Especially, well, I want to say from the big name developers. I'm sure that if I poke around with the indies, I will find like some cool stuff. But I just haven't had the opportunity to do that yet.
I'm just gonna say this: Sony. What camera is Sony on this time?
A camera 4.
Okay, Sony's on camera 4. Okay, Sony, listen to me. It says something about your system, PlayStation 5, that the big game that I thought about purchasing for the PlayStation 5, you played a stray cat in the game. Okay?
Nice, yeah.
That was the only game I was kind of excited for PlayStation 5. That's it. And you want to know something? It didn't matter because it came out on PC about a year later.
That's correct. See, that's the other thing. I have a PC. No reason to, you know, grind hard and go for a PlayStation when more than likely that game is going to wind up on my PC day and date, or at least in a couple months.
If there's a popular AAA game that me or Teebs wants, like we know we can get it on PC. We just need to wait for it. The Last of Us Part 2 is on PC after what, 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Like eventually we'll get it and we'll wait and we'll play day of when it comes out on PC, because again, it's been 5 years. They worked all the bugs out. Presumably there are no day one patches for a 5-year-old game.
But you know, when Last of Us Part 1 came out, it was buggy and there were day one patches, so who the hell knows?
Listen, there's still patches for Cyberpunk. I'll just put it that way.
Hey, I will not have you listen. Cyberpunk was a rocky start. That game is solid as hell right now.
That game was not a rocky start. That was a quarry start, is what that game was.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many rocks and bricks and gravel, just like it was just infested in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we just ended with this. Like, Teebs, scale of 1, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how much are you invested in maybe shelling out $500 or more for the Switch 2 when it drops in June?
You know, I'm into that. I will do that. I will think seriously about the Switch 2, and I'm looking forward to it.
Or is it one of those systems, because I know you've done this with consoles before, are you going to wait like 2-3 months after day one and then get one? Because I feel that's dicey because we don't know where the price points are going to be. Like, it could be $500 now, but I will say that a lot of the parts and a lot of the hardware made for these consoles is made in a country that is not the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So with the economic policy the way it is, if tariffs hit the Switch too, it could be at the end of the day maybe like 7, maybe. I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm speculating, but like at launch, it may not be $500. They may say it's 500, but it may not be that at launch. They're not even taking pre-orders anymore.
No, they're not.
They stopped taking pre-orders because they don't know what the hell's going on with the economic policy in this country.
That is correct, and that's not great. So, I mean, it might wind up being, more even than the $500 price point. So, we got to see.
Unfortunately, we have to end it on kind of depressing news, but we will return next week, happier tones, hopefully. As always, like, follow, subscribe to the podcast. You can follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Next week, we'll be back. As always, we are not going anywhere. We don't plan on going anywhere. And here's the thing about the Teebs and KidPhoenix podcast. Absolutely free.
Free. No downloads.
No downloads at all. Until next week, we are going to get out of here. Talk to everybody next week.